Hey, look which one I got. Hey, what I got. Here, Elizabeth, go choose a pretty color that you like.
So just quickly to tell you, today, like I said, very nice to have Minti Jain and Murtuza with us. Minti is the program, and they're both from the Bangalore Little Theatre. Minti is the program coordinator of the education outreach projects of the Academy of Theatre Arts within the Bangalore Little Theatre. She's a trained master trainer. She's been associated with various theatre programs for adults and children for over 8 years now. She's also an actress and continues to perform in public venues. And I recently saw a play both she and Murtuza were part of, and it was really lovely. Murtuza is a trained master trainer and is part of the Bangalore Little Theatre's education enrichment team. He is an experienced researcher and facilitator, and he's worked with both teachers as well as students. He's also very active both on and off stage. He's an actor, director, he's a lighting and set designer. He also works backstage whenever required. I'd leave it to them to tell us a little bit more about Bangalore Theatre, but welcome Murtuza and Minti, and thank you so much for agreeing to doing this session for us, and we're really looking forward to it. You can tell the participants what you expect them to do as part of this session, and yeah, we promise to participate. Yeah, over to you. Thank you.
Okay, maybe I'll just begin with a short intro into BLT for those who don't know BLT. BLT is one of the oldest theatre groups in Bangalore. We are about 63 years old now. And in addition to doing plays, we also we also work in the field of education, where we work with students and teachers. This is done through the Academy of Theatre Arts, which is the program education division of BLT. In addition to that, we also have theatre in management and other programs. So, yeah, I think that's as brief as I can get right now. So we are ready to begin. I'll just share my screen and hopefully find my presentation. Yes. Yep. Where is the slideshow? Okay, so we're just going to delve into theatre in education, a few concepts, and explore it more. So yes, what thoughts does this image trigger? This is an interactive session.
We can't see your PPT anymore.
No,
okay.
I wanted to see the face of people who are going to respond.
Very tired children.
Okay. Anything else? Restriction of free thinking. Preeti says. Okay. What else?
You can unmute yourselves as well. And
anyone else?
Like a carbon copy of sorts.
Okay. So, okay. Why do you think I'm showing this image?
That's the way education is today.
Okay. And
in particular, what you're concerned with theatre arts doesn't, that square or rectangle that you showed doesn't find a place in it.
Okay. Yeah, literally, Nayantara says literally shaping thoughts forcefully. Even Jayashree's also said that it doesn't go with our philosophy. I think, yes, it's precisely why all of us are here today, right? We want to look at things, how can we enhance the learning process in the classroom? And today Minti and I will be speaking about how to use the theatre methodology. And this is nothing but what theatre in education is all about. And theatre in education is very experiential. It requires you to do stuff. So we're going to stop talking now and we will start doing stuff. And so Minti, you can take over and I'll move the slide to the next one.
Okay, so can everyone see this image of the earth? Why does it look so blue? You can take it off, Murtuza, they've all seen it.
Yeah.
Water?
Water? Most of it is water. How much percent around? Any ideas, roughly?
Some 70 plus, no? 70 plus,
Yeah.
plus or something like that.
Yeah, that's about
Yeah.
70 plus. That's how much water is there on the earth. That's why it looks blue. Yeah, we all know that. And water is present in many shapes, many forms, many locations on this earth. So today we're just going to, let's all get up and become. So I want all of you to think about any water body. I mean, it can be any shape, any form. Remember, any shape, any form, any location, right? So right now we're not going to do any talking, but anybody can volunteer one by one. We're going to turn into anything that comes to your mind, which is water in any form, any shape, any location. Okay, so anyone wants to volunteer, you can use your whole body to become this. And then we're all going to do that as well. You can use sound and movement if you like to show what you have become.
And if someone tells me who's doing it, I can spotlight that person.
Okay, great. Roshni.
Yeah, Roshni.
Becoming a waterfall.
No, so you're not supposed to tell us. That's the whole point.
Okay.
No talking, but do it. Please do it. Okay, can everyone do it after her now? Okay, wonderful. Thanks a lot. So I was going to ask people to guess afterwards, but that's fine. Anyone else wants to go next?
Okay, Preeti.
Okay, everyone can do this? Wonderful. Can anyone guess what that is?
Waves on the beach.
I think so, yeah. Is that correct? Yeah, that's correct, she says. One more person. Remember, water is also present in different forms. Okay, Dana? What is this? You have to become, right?
Sorry.
You have to become.
That's right. I'm behaving like an animal. Sorry. Yeah.
It's probably an ice cream that you're eating. You have to pick up the ice cream if that's what you want to be. Someone says saliva. That's what they thought it was.
Yeah. Okay, why not?
You will try something else? Or once more?
Yeah.
Okay. So you have to become that.
Okay, so I'm actually, yes, I'm doing the...
Turn your
yeah.
whole body into that.
Okay, that's right. Okay, maybe I have to think about this a little more.
Okay, no problem.
Yeah, somebody else wants to go before I... Yeah, Tara?
Nayanthara. Okay. Okay, wonderful. What is that?
Water going down a drain.
Okay, to me it looks like a tornado or a storm.
Whirlpool?
Shower.
Something like a shower.
Or a cyclone?
Oh, water in a toilet bowl.
Clouds and rain.
Okay, maybe you can tell us.
You can tell us.
I was trying to show, like you open a tap and then water flows down and then you close it.
Okay.
I like the water in the toilet bowl one.
Okay, great. Now I want everyone to do this together. I'm going to give some instructions and just follow them. So imagine you're in a droplet of water anywhere on this earth. So you're starting from the ground, you're all down there. And the sun is beating down really strong. You're rising up slowly as water vapor. You're rising up slowly. You're going all the way up into the sky, reach up high. And as you're going up, the temperatures are dropping. So you freeze for a moment. You freeze there as you're in the clouds. And then you melt a little bit and you drop down again. And once more, you're going up, rising as water vapor, rising up, temperatures are cooling again. And then you're going to freeze up there in the clouds. And then you begin to melt again and drop again. Okay. Wonderful. Thanks a lot. Okay. You can come back and sit down.
I think it was still very visual for me in terms of, just when you're thinking about it. And so I found it a little difficult to think of it, or at least to demonstrate it as if, in the fluidity or the form of a fluid in which I think we had to do, right? So I found that a little bit difficult.
So how we would do this in a class was we've done this. So we actually used it for a workshop. And can you guess what the workshop was on? This was a warm-up. It was the first exercise we did. It was a warm-up.
So something around water conservation or something? Or?
Could be, but it wasn't. Yeah, in a way, actually, it ended up, parts of being ended up being that also.
Water harvesting, something like that.
That's also part of it. It can be used in a lot of places. So our workshop was rain, actually. But the way we did this was just standing in a circle, one by one. One child goes to the center and becomes, and then everyone else is doing in their own place with sound and action. A lot of things came up, lots of different things. And the kids really, so it's easier for kids to actually become. I've seen this, for adults, it's much harder to become something because they're already in that play set and their imagination somehow is just so much stronger than ours. And they really get into that. So so we used it for a workshop on rain. Murtuza, can you show us the next slide? And this is actually a part of a set of exercises called body images, which basically you're turning your body into anything, something else other than yourself. It could be living, non-living. So we do a lot of objects, animals, phenomenon, even systems. And usually there are frozen images. And wherever needed, you add a sound or a movement to it. So we'll just show you some images of what we've done with children. Like, can you guess what that is?
Peacock?
Yeah, that's a peacock. Okay. It could be a tree, but this one is a peacock. It's got that beak in front. Guesses?
Caterpillar or worm.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
a caterpillar. Yeah, we can move on to the next one. This is actually non-living. This is an object.
Like a car or something, or some vehicle?
It's a bike. Yeah.
Like, yeah.
Okay. Next one.
So did you?
Glasses?
Sorry?
Glasses.
Yes, a pair of glasses. Perfect. Yeah, yeah.
Wow.
What
okay.
it is.
Okay.
Okay.
So do you tell them what they need to depict?
Yes.
Or, okay.
Yes. So
okay.
we can tell them, but at the
Mhm.
same time, there are many ways of using it. So again, let's all try this out for ourselves. So let's get up. And now we won't do it one by one. We can all do it together. So I would like everyone to become a chair. Okay, so you can't sit on something. You have to become the chair. Okay, wonderful. Use your whole body. That's great. Okay, now relax. Now, can everyone become a giraffe? Nice, lots of different giraffes. Very nice.
And if you guys look at the screen, then you'll get a sense of what others are doing
Others
also.
actually. Yeah. Okay. Next, I would like each of you to become a tree in your own way. Use your whole body, become a tree. Okay, now while you're there, can everyone just come back and unmute yourself, because I'm going to ask you to say something next. So unmute yourself and go back and become a tree. Okay, now Nayantara, can you tell us what tree are you?
Trying to be a palm tree.
Palm tree. Okay, Roshni,
I'm a banyan tree.
Banyan, Vena.
I'm a pongam tree.
Okay, Pangevia, Sachi.
I'm also trying to be a banyan tree.
Okay, Preeti, but you're not unmuted. And Gautam also, you're not unmuted, so I can't ask you. Unmute and tell us, what tree are you? Gautam?
Yeah, banana.
Banana tree. Okay, Preeti? Okay, we can't hear her.
Preeti says, I don't know the name, but I saw this tree.
Okay. Doesn't matter. So while you make it, it's fine. You might just do something. But when I come there and ask you, you can just think of another tree. So it doesn't matter so much. Okay, great. Relax. Next, can everyone become a tap? So turn your whole body. This is interesting because I've already tried this before. But there's right now, it's a frozen image, right? So make a tap. Okay, great. There's so many different types of taps. At the count of 3, you can open and close your tap, and you can add sound and action basically. So 1, 2, 3. You can add sound also, action also. Okay, wonderful. Relax. Okay, next, we're all going to create a scene together. This would have been wonderful if we were in one place, because we could have touched each other, built onto each other. But for now, what we'll do is, so we'll have to do this one by one. Okay, so we'll have to watch each other. We're going to create a forest together. You can be a living thing, non-living thing, whatever's there in a forest. but we're going to do this one by one. So one person goes up and does something. Then one more person has to go and add to that. And then we see what the two of them have done together, and then we keep adding to the scene. Got it? Okay, so who's going first?
So whoever goes first, I'll put you into spotlight. Whoever goes next, I'll add you onto the spotlight. So you'll have a view of everything together.
So do we also say what we
No,
are? Or
You
no?
don't say what you are. You just do
All
it.
silent.
Okay.
And you just go there and you freeze.
And everyone just keep your mics on because you'll need to make sounds and things like that. So we can't keep better not to have to come back and in your position.
Jitendra, are you also joining? Welcome.
Yes.
Yeah.
Go-
So would you like to? Who wants to go first?
Yeah, Gauri, Nirmal, please, if you can switch on your.
Come, everyone, whoever. You do what's there in the forest. So much to think about.
I'll go.
Great, Nantara. Okay. So don't move. Don't move.
Oh, just freeze.
Open for now. Just be frozen. Okay, great. Who's going next? One more has to add.
Okay, Preeti.
Preeti has frozen. Great. Next, Roshni, go. Okay, she's there. Who's going next? Jitendra, go. Okay, Vena. Okay, stay there. Manoj. Okay, he's not really doing it. All right, now at the count of 3, can all of you make your sound in action? 1, 2, 3. Preeti, make your sound. Preeti, we can't hear you. Okay, that works. Wonderful. Okay, come back and relax. So we would have at least 8 to 9 kids go up, and then the others would be asked to guess what each one is. And if they're not able to guess, then we'll get each one to make a sound and action, if there is one. Otherwise, they just tell them. And then at some point, you do 1, 2, 3, and everybody, so the whole class comes alive with sounds of the forest or sounds of whatever you want to make. So basically, you can use it for whichever thing.
Does this work for very young children as well, Mindy?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
And you could also get them, if you want to do see how much they know, right? If you want to use it as how much they know. The others who are sitting out can try and add things which are missing.
Right.
So you could use it that way also.
Actually, it's a wonderful way to also, introduce the forest ecosystem, right?
Yeah.
Exactly.
And then you can talk about associations and things like that also.
That's right. Yeah.
And build on that.
Tap them to say, you can bring out vocabulary, names of trees.
Yes.
You can just say, everyone just become any animal. You can check who's become what animal, and then what's not there, you can bring in those. So a lot of vocabulary can be done.
And like you said, associations, you could even get any 2 elements to interact with each other, while the others are still just there like that.
Yeah.
So, multiple ways of doing things.
You can get everyone to become a snake and then go around asking what's the name of the snake you are. So you get the vocabulary out in that way. Birds, whatever you want, you can do a whole bunch of things. Yeah.
So after a group is used to an exercise like this, have you also seen the students themselves becoming facilitators? Because that will be an interesting thing to see develop, right? So instead of the 2 of you facilitating this process, for the children themselves to start, using this tool to co-learn or to, for discussions and things like that.
You mean older kids?
Older, yeah.
I've seen kids going and teaching peers in the other sections. So like if there are children who don't come into a theatre session, whereas there are some who come in. So the ones, they go and teach the others. We've heard of instances. We've seen seniors if they have a session with juniors where they're doing something, use bits of theater there also.
You can also start off, so it depends on what you want to cover in a class. You might even bring an image already.
Yeah.
Like of some scene which tells something, and then get them to recreate it. Just go back and do that, and then you can do a fast forward and a back flashback. Like, how did this happen? And then you can even get them to act a little bit from what to what happened and what might happen next and things like that. So you can just activate the scenes. And I've even used it for this whole idea of how. So you can do a forest and a city, or a village and a city, a street scene. So all the occupations and everything are very urban, and then a rural scene. And then you can get a rural scene to be replaced by, what happened. So this thing got converted into this, and what were the jobs they were doing earlier, and then what they got converted to. It's a good way to see that transition as well. I mean, you can use it in a lot of ways once you just begin to.
Yeah, let's hear from you guys. How would you use it? I mean, can you think of ways of using it?
So I just wanted a clarification.
Yeah.
Do you do one-off sessions, or do you do like a series of? How many sessions typically would you take with the group of kids?
So it depends on the purpose of this is. If we're just using it as a warm-up for our larger theater workshop, then we'll do a couple of sessions where we get them to do individually. Then we actually pair them up, 3 people, 4 people, 5 people, depends. Like, you get them into smaller groups to make different things, and then you do this scene by scene. Then we'll just do it for maybe 2 sessions, 2 to 3 sessions. We would do this, and then they'd already get freed up with their bodies. They get used to being close to each other. At the count of 5 of you are just going to do this, right? So when we do it in groups, when you saw the peacock or the motorcycle, we just counted to 10. They don't have time to talk and all that. Quickly in that count of 10, they create that. So it's a very improv thing, working together quickly, all of that. So our purpose there is different. But for instance, this one, when we did this water exercise and different forms of water, we did it part of a workshop which went on for about 16 hours. So that was like one of the warm-ups that we used. It was just one day that we did that for 20 minutes, I think.
Mm-hmm. And do you have, all the exercises that you took were kind of embodied? I mean, you imagine yourself to be that thing. So do you also have kids acting as people, people who are doing things? Like, I guess the village scene and the city scene,
Absolutely.
and so there would have to be human actors, and there'd have to be things, and it has to be,
Absolutely.
Depending on the need, right? So like when we said we were talking about one of the exercises was looking at professions. So then we got the people in the villages to do whatever the people in the villages do, and we even did a comparison with another image of people in the streets, in a city, in an urban place. So it becomes like that. And in fact, while we'll be talking further, you'll see people, students becoming characters further. As we go ahead, you'll hear of instances of that also.
Okay, so this is just to showcase this particular exercise. Let's just go back to that rain workshop that we were talking about.
Yeah. But we didn't hear others, so I'm just...
Yeah, go ahead.
I thought let's just hear if anyone has ideas right now.
Sure. Yeah, please.
Yeah, am I audible now?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, one of the things that I had done once when I was a student many years ago, actually, in a theatre workshop, is that we were told a story, a popular story, which we have never embodied in our lives, but only heard, like the 3 Little Pigs. So it was told in a brief manner, and then we were asked to make 10 tableaus of the flow of the story. So we were given 20 seconds first to be in each tableau, and then the time kept coming down. And the story, and of course the embodiment was based on what we heard, and the story was told only twice to us. So it's also memory. And then I also very vividly remember that there were new characters that were just born on spot because we thought that was needed there. And then the story kind of opened up organically. So it was interesting. So to also work the other way around, where a story is told and then you go with it. And that becomes a video when they just say 2 seconds in each frame.
Yeah.
It is something I remember from a class that I did many years ago.
Yeah, this is a well-known technique. Now we're just also thinking that, how we can use it for nature studies, and yeah. But that's a great idea. You can even narrate something to do with the nature, this thing, some incident, and then you can get them to do it the other way around. It's a great idea. Yeah.
You could, yeah. I'm not going to give ideas. I'm going to listen.
Roshni, maybe you can tell everyone how we did the session on the butterfly transition in
Yes.
Parikrama. Yeah.
Yes. Actually, before I go there, I was wondering if Nayanthara also wants to share because we're talking about the sort of video kind of playing in nature, and we've just kind of written out an activity around this. Nayanthara, would you like to share that now? You're on mute, by the way.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, no, so Roshni and I have been working on doing exactly this, basically trying to create nature learning resources that use movement in its method and process. And one of the things one of the activities that we thought of and we are documenting is basically using the concept of a video and actually acting a video out. So it's something like, it can be something that we observe together in person, and then we recreate that as a video that we act out, but it can also be a video that we watch, especially of slow processes, like a plant actually growing, which you can't observe, sitting at one place. So something we thought of was, say it is a plant growing from a seed to a full grown plant, flowering plant. It's basically like we do it as a group where one person becomes the seed, or different kids in a group become different stages, and then we first assume those positions individually, and then and together as a series, and we add an element of fun to it by saying that this is basically the video that we're watching, but we are enacting it. So then the facilitator says, okay, play. So the first kid starts assuming the position of a seed, and then the second kid follows, and so on. And then we also do things like, okay, now I just pause this video. So then the last person who is assuming that position has to freeze, and the others have to just, disappear. They can't assume their positions. Or we say fast forward, so everyone has to do it really quickly together. We say slow motion, so everyone has to do really slowly. And then rewind as well, where we do the same thing but the opposite way. So we were thinking of that as an activity. And we also, like, since you mentioned stories, we also had another activity where we basically, like a spin a yarn kind of thing, where we tell the story of a tree but through movement and as a group. So one person starts by saying something like, there was this once upon a time there was this particular tree, and then the other person might say, it was visited by a honeybee. So then they have to become that honeybee that is visiting that tree, and then it goes on in a group, and so we create a story together. So all these were some ideas that we were kind of working on. We are working on for this small project that we have. Yeah,
it's really good.
Yeah, I'll just also add what Veena was mentioning, which was this was actually very impromptu, and we hadn't really thought, we hadn't planned. The children were learning about life cycles of different animals, and they were learning about butterfly life cycles. And they had already read the text, so they knew words like metamorphosis, they knew all of the stages of the butterfly life cycle. And as a recap, one thing that we did was to actually show them a video, a slow motion video of the butterfly metamorphosis. And then we it was a large group of maybe, I think 25-30 children, and they became, they were divided into smaller groups, and each group had to represent one stage of the the life cycle. So, and they weren't given too much instruction or supervision or anything like that. And it was quite fascinating what they came up with. These were children in class 4, so they were 9 years old. And so the first stage had 4 children, and 3 of them became the leaf, the surface of the leaf. So they actually kind of lay down and formed a leaf. And there was one child in the center that became the butterfly egg. And so like that, they showed each stage of the butterfly life cycle. And that was really nice, because in the last one, most of them were still, like they were, they were like these tableaus. But the last one, where the butterfly actually emerges, they added movement, right? So the butterfly just emerged and like flapped around and ran around the rest of the team members. So that was really nice and spontaneous, that kind of came up.
So
but I didn't say things because all the things that I wanted to talk about.
Yeah, and it really enriched the topic, right, for them, because they had only seen the usual illustrations and pictures in their textbook till then. And so it was really nice because the teacher also saw how this was unraveling. And so she saw how much the kids were kind of, thinking about it creatively. And because they'd also seen the video, it was a nice scaffold for them. So they read the chapter, they saw the pictures in their textbook, but then saw the video, and then they enacted it themselves. And so it was interesting to also have some discussions with them post that. So that was a nice exercise for us to kind of do with them.
So much you can gauge also how much of their understanding is there, because when they do it on their own.
Yeah, because like this leaf thing, for example, it took us completely by surprise. We just thought they'll become little eggs. But then when they actually decided to, show the eggs on the leaf surface, it was such a lovely kind of thing for us to see. Nice.
And also, I guess it'll stay longer for them, with them, the whole process.
Yeah.
Okay, so we move on. You have to bear with me.
So yeah, that rain workshop that we did, basically last year, that last October was the wettest. It was in the news, and everyone in Bangalore was like really experiencing all sorts of heavy rains. And so the whole workshop was kind of designed around that, to understand this issues of heavy rains. Of course, we didn't tell the kids that. We just started off with that whole thing of, that warm-up that we did of different forms of water, and then we ended with water. The next thing we did was we just sat down and shared experiences of rain. Okay, so we just did, how both positive and negative, and for ourselves, also thinking about the animals that are there, how do they feel, objects around us, all of it. So we just sat down and we spoke about this. We just show you a small clip of what came up on that.
I'm angry at rain because whenever we play cricket, the rain starts and we can't breathe.
I like the smell of the mud, it refreshes me. My mother won't let me out when it's raining because I will catch a cold.
When the sun comes out, I can see a rainbow.
Rain scares me because of that thunder.
A cup of tea and bhajis and the paper boats. Stay with my friends in the puddles. House get flooded.
It helps me to grow and grow.
It's very difficult to find shelter and protection and find foods.
I might collapse.
I am angry with my owner because when he goes out in the rain, he makes me dirty and never cleans me.
Yeah, so those were some of the some objects as well, some animals as well, and of course as themselves. So that was the first thing that we did. And then after that, we got them in. So there's sort of a lot of, of course, these are just a few. So everyone heard each other's, viewpoints, different objects, animals. So there's a lot of sharing of that. After that, we got them into 2 groups, and we said, can you create a poem on rain of these experiences, whatever comes to you. So that was like a group activity for them to sit down and put down something creative. So the next one is one of the poems. We're just going to show you one of them here for now.
Rain, 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 birds are in pain, children are in gain, please come again. Flood, 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 thunder sounds thud, blooming bud, we are in mud.
Clouds, 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 children are allowed. Thunder is loud, it is all crowd. Drops, 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 closed our shops. Frog hops, destroying our crops.
Okay. So once we did that, then we kind of got down to focusing on the issues around rain and looking for the root causes and the solutions. So for this, what we did, we use there's a technique in theatre and education called the mantle of the expert. So basically, that was the main technique that we use. It is just kind of where you bring in a real life situation and you get the teachers, you get the students especially to become experts to solve a particular problem. That's what it's all about. So the whole thing, so how we did this was, we'll just show you how we did that. The first thing we did was, so after those 2 sessions, we had spoken about experiences of rain. We also asked them, they were all very aware of what's going on in Bangalore. And then we also told them to go and read up a few things and come back. Then the next session, we both entered, Murtuza and me entered as the mayor and the secretary. So this was a role play as facilitators that we did. We just walked in and they were all kind of surprised because we were kind of walking in and we dressed up a little and we put the character of these two. And then we presented this scenario. Bangalore city is facing this problem and we need an expert committee to solve this issue. So, and we addressed them as the corporators of the city. So we said, all of you have all your different wards in the city. We want you to first go out there and collate all the information about what are the issues that are happening in your wards. Okay, so suddenly they were turned into corporators. And then the whole point was to now collate all the issues. So how we did this was we got them, we gave them chits and everyone just sat down and wrote a whole bunch of chits in the center of the room, and we just gathered a whole lot of issues. So they came up with issues that people were having in different areas, or kind of drainage problems, whatever they'd heard, whatever they've been hearing around them, and even animals or trees, or whole lot of stuff. And then we
even
said,
people with different professions, so they're
right,
looking at all of that.
And then we kind of said that, okay, now we have to. So the main reason over here was to kind of, so we had to, because there's so much that comes out, which is good, which should come out in the first thing. But then here is where the teacher decides what we have to focus on. So our focus was flooding. And then we said that now let's all focus on flooding and why that is happening. Right. So the next thing that we did, just go ahead. Okay, so this is where we said, okay, so how are we going to solve this problem? We have to first create a committee of experts, right? So right now the students are corporators and they have to think about what are the issues around this and how are we going to solve this? We have to find a committee of experts. So we have to think about, so this was a place where we figured out how to, just go to the next point, Murtuza. So creating an expert committee. And we have to first get them to think about who are all the stakeholders. So who should be on this committee to solve this problem? There should be some residents. There should be somebody from the, the drainage department. There should be someone from
urban planning, from DWSSB, from resident associations, from and all of those. We had a list of.
Yeah, you get them to think about this. If something is not there, then of course you add. And how this also happened, just go ahead to the next point, was like we also did certain sessions to tell them a bit more. So we also, okay, so first when the committee was decided, we also brought in another facilitator, but at the same time, one of us could have easily switched roles and just become the BBMP commissioner. We brought a formal contract, and we got them to sign it. And then we said that we are appointing all of you to solve this problem. Then the next thing that we did was throughout this whole process, then we created these little committees. So in the expert committee, we formed little groups where each department had to go and do their own research. And we also did some sessions from our side where we kind of brought up, this whole idea of like how Bangalore was developed over time, how it's changed, change of land use. So it was sort of all done through discussions and getting them to talk mostly, and wherever they were not able to, we were giving them information, or we were guiding them what to look up, what to do. And then all of this was put together as some enactment as well, so that it would sort of be more ingrained and they got a feel of it rather than just so we're just going to show you a small video clip, and after that, of course, there were solutions. So we'll show you a small video clip to.
Yeah. So just to repeat, add to what Minti said. So when we got them to become corporators, we actually got them to list out the issues that they find with the different in their wards, and then this expert committee and the stakeholders that were decided were also decided by them based on the categories of issues that we noticed.
Right.
So yeah, just wanted to add that.
At any point, if you have any clarifications, questions, just stop and ask us.
Okay, why is this not?
But on a serious note, the reason for flooding in many parts of Bengaluru is not just too much rain. It is also the way the city has grown so fast and the change of land use over time. When Kempe Gowda decided to build the city, even though there were no large rivers and the land was semi-arid, he could see that there was enough rainfall that could be harvested to support a small town. He and other rulers after him studied the landscape carefully and constructed a wonderful system of man-made lakes or tanks. We're calling it a system because the lakes were connected to each other through canals. The lakes had provided fresh water for people, for drinking, washing, and agriculture. A rich variety of plants, birds, and animals also thrived near these lakes. There were many fruit orchards too, and a lot of open space. So even if it rained heavily, there was very little chance of flooding as the lakes simply expanded in size. They filled up the surrounding wetlands. Also, since the lakes were connected to each other, the extra water from one lake could flow easily into another through the canals. This network of lakes also helped to maintain a good level of groundwater, and people could access this water easily through open wells. Most homes and fruit orchards had an open well. The original city was planned in a way that it could support a small number of people per square kilometer. But over time, especially in the last 30 years, the population exploded, increasing the per square kilometer count as well. In other words, the city became crowded, overcrowded. And to make space for so many people, the agricultural land and many lakes too were sacrificed. Many of the lakes were drained empty and buildings were built on them. The connections between the lakes too were destroyed, and more buildings and roads were added to allow for the extra traffic. Today, with so many tar roads, concrete buildings, and such little open ground, the water cannot be absorbed by the soil. It simply Okay, that last word was it simply runs off. Anyway. Okay, so let's move ahead. So this is just a picture of all the issues that they listed out, the causes of flooding.
So Minti, sorry, one clarification. In terms of the actions that all the children did, including their formations, that's something you facilitated, or did they come up with it themselves after reading the script
so
and
actually,
discussing.
I mean, one thing is this workshop was done for a project which was a very short timeline. It was a South Korean thing, and they had like, okay, in this date, so we really had to rush it up. Otherwise, a lot of it would have taken more time, and we would have got them to workshop a lot more things. So some of it ended up being we kind of telling, but we had a narration. So because for the video, I had written down a narrative, and I kind of had the ideas of how to get them to do it. So most of it was sort of like we told them, but at the same time we asked them like, so what would be the uses of water? So they came up with those sort of things for washing, for, those sort of things. Some of the things they came up with, some of the things but ideally if we had more time, we would get all of that out of them and get them to do it completely. But we just said, okay, shrinking of lake, so how would you do it? Can you try? Like that. So a lot of it was done by themselves. We kind of said what they had to do, and they tried to do it on their own. Like I said, okay, now the lakes are shrinking and you have to turn into buildings. And then they themselves choreographed that. I gave some ideas in a few places, do this, do that, and then it was like a combination of both.
Because our education system really allows for collaborative work, and so it's so nice to see children coming together, collaborating, doing things together, and also being so comfortable with each other's genders. Otherwise it's so separated. Boys will always be one side, girls will always be one side. It's nice to see that they were, unless this school is different, and it allows for that.
And we've experienced both sides. We've experienced both sides. There are sides where the teachers also want to ensure that the genders are kept separate, despite us trying to fix them. But if you tend to spend a lot of time with them, like with some of the schools where we work longer, where we work through the year, even if in class they are separate, the gender mixing happens in the sessions. So over time it does work.
That's certainly something that theatre helps with.
Yes.
It can take time, and in certain places it's harder, but it surely helps over time.
That's really nice to see.
Okay, going back.
Yeah, and then the next part of the video is where they actually talk about the solution. It's amazing. This was completely, all the research was done by them. They came back and how we would write it down in little chits, and each one of them, they were so, just the fact that we made them these experts. They were like coming back and, and each time there was a lot of sharing. So just the whole workshop process of we share that, it's okay, Murtuza. And then they were really, we're going to share the whole video with you. We only showed you clips here. And then you can see with how much gusto they're all, all of that research was done by them. That we didn't have time to help them. They were doing it at home and coming back and sharing it with us. So this whole, basically every session started with some kind of a warm-up of body and wherever possible voice. So we even, like, for instance, there's this song, Ants Go Marching, or if you know that. Ants go marching one by one, hurrah, hurrah. It's quite a common, like a nursery, a primary school song. And we made it a bit physical and all. And it's all about, because of the rain, they have to go down and hide and all that. There was some rain in that, so we just got that. So, I mean, anything, some kind of a warm-up is always nice to start with. And that's what frees up their bodies and, get them to get physical. Then there were rules.
And we also try to link it to the session if possible. That's what we usually try to do.
Yeah, that's why that was on rain and the ants running away from the rain. So even if you saw that bit where we were showing the cities being crowded, right? That, of course, for the video, we choreographed it. But in the workshop itself, that is a theatre exercise where we just get them to walk around randomly. So they had already experienced that in the workshop. And then we used it to, again, choreograph it for the video. And then, of course, we fast forward it so it's looking like that, like the city's getting crowded. But that's something we'd anyway done as part of the workshop, just as a walking around the room at different speeds and for them to, get a feeler of it. It's just a theatre exercise that. So, and then there were role plays by us. That was quite an important element, actually. Often, teachers do pick up things and get the kids to just read the story in those roles and all of that. But this element which is there in this mantle of the expert is quite something where the teacher takes on the role. So actually, if you think about it, the whole thing, there was a lot of research, collating information, us giving information, them researching information and sharing with each other. So most of it was quite academic. There wasn't, it wasn't all theater. Theater elements were added only into a few places, but just the fact that that day we dressed up as these two characters and came, that just got them, the whole fun came. So even after that, even though it was sit down and talk or write, it just became exciting for them to do. Then
and the fact that they were thinking of themselves as experts,
right?
So they also got that much more serious, and especially the fact that we made them sign the contract. In fact, the day they signed the contract, the teacher wasn't there. So they've actually gone back and taken the contract to the teacher, and the teacher called us up to see, is this something we have to do? Is there something we have to do here? So, I mean, just to give a sense of how seriously they took it, just because of this small bit of role playing.
Yeah, they thought it was a contract between BLT and the school that, that the teachers were supposed to get back to them about. And we made it, especially Murtuza wrote it down in a very legal, kind of a very confusing language, because that's how real things are, these big jargon and all that. And then I, as a secretary, was actually like, yeah, that's how these things are, but I'll help you understand it. That's how it is. So we try to give them as real a feeling of the entire process possible. So it's fun. At the same time, they got a picture of how it would be in reality. And so, yeah, there was a lot of research sharing. Each time they researched something, they came back, they shared with the rest of the group and presented it to the group and all that. Okay, then the main outcome was basically this video, but that's because we were supposed to put it down for the international. It was a project, it's a South Korean project, that's why we took on this whole thing. But ideally, if we had more time, we would have got the children to create a script around it also, possibly. And this is something that we'll share another video with you. Earlier in the year, when the whole lockdown and all that started, the first lockdown and everything, then we created a workshop actually on COVID itself, which we called My New World. And we can share that video with you. And it's so it was again about the experiences that they're having at home, thinking about people outside, people different professions, what doctors might be going through, all of that. And the kids at the end actually wrote a script, and we did an online performance. This whole thing was obviously online because everyone was under lockdown, and it was amazing how they came up with the dialogues. I mean, of course, we guided them, but they wrote it down and they enacted it. They made their props and costumes at home and just came on Zoom like this and performed it. So that was quite nice.
Yeah, so this was done mainly because we felt that, especially during the first lockdown, we felt that children didn't have a avenue to speak and talk about what they're feeling and experiencing. So this was a 12-session workshop, and we have, I mean, if you have a look at the video, you'll really enjoy it, because the script that they came up with was that Earth is tired of humans and it's given a contract to Corona to come and
kill them off.
Yeah.
Guess what? I think they're both doing deals with Corona, deals with it, and Earth is doing Corona, and so they're like, okay, no, we'll behave and please get this Corona off.
How old
and
are
it
the
was
kids?
Completely by the children.
How old are they, this group?
We had a
range of 6-year-old also and a 17-year-old also.
Okay.
Yeah, it was quite the range.
Okay, so is that something you're sharing with us now, or you're going to give it to us?
We'll just share the video. We'll share the link.
Even this one, we haven't played the entire thing, the water workshop, we'll share it.
Okay.
Now, what did these exercises aim to achieve? That's a question for all of you.
Yeah, for me, from the previous video and from whatever I saw just now as well, I think empathy is coming out very strongly. Empathy for a situation, empathy for an entity, empathy for another being, for each other. Yeah, and again, that's a very strong kind of element for people like us who are working in the nature education space, right? Empathy is something that we really try and bring out as part of the resources, as part of our conversations, the way we kind of think of the work that we do and what we want to achieve. Yeah.
Also giving them an opportunity to really think deeply about how many different perspectives exist in a certain issue or a certain scenario, and trying to, the fact that they have to consider multiple stakeholders and their perspectives, and if that's coming in as a role play, I think that's going to really enhance their ability to think from different people's perspective, rather than just thinking, what do you think these people would think individually, what do you think it would be like for this person, for that group. Instead of that, when you actually have that group acting as that group, thinking as that group, or experiencing as that group, I think that would come out much more clearly, at least, and adding the element of empathy, as Veena said, that will work out really well in terms of coming up with solutions and at least understanding the issue.
Yeah, absolutely. And even in that exercise, in the beginning of just sharing experiences as a shoe or as a building or as a tree, we have to keep reminding them it's very important for them to speak in first person as a shoe, rather than a shoe would feel this. So it's very important to do that, because then it's like, I am feeling, why isn't my owner doing this?
It's not an easy exercise, huh? It really requires you to kind of change your perspective.
Yes.
Yeah, it is.
But like we said, it comes more naturally to children than
to children. Yeah, I'm sure.
But also often it's important and necessary and nice for, if it's not getting triggered, then as a facilitator, jump in and do an example. It becomes important quite a few times. And then just increase that energy, or give that right, the direction that you want it to go. Sometimes just jump in and quickly do. So you become part of them and just do it.
And continuing on that, especially when you're doing the mantle of the expert, where we were the mayor and the secretary and things like that. There were times when, if we feel that the children are stuck because they're not able to ask questions, Minti would just suddenly go and sit with the children and become one of them. And she had a pair of glasses that she was wearing whenever she was becoming the secretary. So she takes off the glass, she goes, sits there, asks the question, comes back, where's the glass? She becomes the thing. So we do that also to kind of differentiate between, okay, now she's one of us and now she's taking the role of the facilitator or the...
And that creates a lot of comfort for them also, because it's like you're ready to partake in all of that. And especially for that first exercise, I remember, in fact, to get into the shoes, they were very easy to speak about their own experiences, brain, budgie, this, that, go out and cricket. But when it came to talking about others, they were struggling. And I remember I just started talking about, I just got in and I just said that, and they had to guess also later. I didn't even say who I was, and I became the earth under their school building. And I was like, I'm so dry, and even though there's so much rain, I'm just like, I can't, I'm parched because there's no water reaching me. And I made it very, very dramatic and all of that. Sometimes you have to add extra to it. And then they understood what I meant by that, because I had become that patch of earth under their school building, who was just dying for any water to reach her. There's no water reaches me ever. I'm just completely dry down there.
Yeah, other thoughts? Message. Children will be more imaginative and creative. It can become a tool for facilitator to engage children more beautifully. Yes.
Yeah, Preeti.
I also think how, these conversations travel back home, and to have these check on what kind of lives they lead, what kind of decisions their parents make around nature, around a lot of things about the city. Are they, do they discuss about the place that they are living in? I mean, the history behind the apartment that was built. I don't know, I mean, I'm just curious now as to what kind of questions they will go back and, ask their parents. And I'm sure when Veena was talking about empathy, they will know. I think these sessions also will let them not bombard their parents with questions, because it can be overwhelming for them also. But I think these sessions will make them understand that there might have been a reason for our parents to make these decisions, and then the conversation may go on. So I'm just imagining how that feels, a household after these sessions. I think it's so imperative to have these sessions, to have that check at home. Thank you.
So I remember having done a session on lakes with children. They were looking at lakes, and especially that was at the time when the Bellandur Lake was, Bellandur and the Vartur Lake were burning, kind of a thing. So they had, these kids would go back and have lots of conversations with their parents and try to understand why it's happening, what's happening, and also try to, they somehow connected it with the waste and garbage and all that. And some of them have had fights with their parents saying that you guys are doing a lot more of waste and stuff like that. So yeah, it does go back.
Murtuza, just to give context to Jitendra, Manoj and Gautam, who are not from Bangalore, about the lake issue, and if you want to say a little bit, just give a little bit background information.
So I think this was about 3-4 years back when these, the Bellandur Lake and the Vartur Lake, they are in that system of lakes that we just saw about, and they have a lot of effluents going in, one from residential places also, and there are some industries there also. And then because of the pollution, I think a lot of methane was being created and the lakes were burning. There was a lot of foam and lakes were burning. So that was in the news at that point of time. Maybe the others can add more to the details.
Very dramatic images of the lake frothing. So it looked like it was just full of bubbles and froth, and things were, all this froth was also coming onto vehicles and roads and people who were walking. It was very embarrassing for Bangalore city for some time as well, because it also came in the international news outlets.
Any other thoughts on what the exercises aim to achieve, or not aim to achieve, what they managed to achieve?
Perhaps new ways of working, for children to work together and collaborate. Even in if they're forming something, to kind of add something that's not there, not just in words, but maybe in action, in being there.
Yeah.
It's also getting them to be more active, no? It must be so, just hours of sitting on a bench listening to a teacher.
Yes.
Just getting them to stretch and move about and do other things in a school setting can be so freeing, I guess, if I can use that word.
And the teacher also, who was sort of coordinating this, and she would keep coming in and watching a little bit, and she was amazed that this was a very academic topic, but how that got so exciting for the children. I think that is what the magic of theatre in education is, really, this whole arts integration thing, because this is something then you can really use in your classroom. You just take your lesson and add theatre elements to it.
And this is irrespective of space, I guess, no? So space shouldn't be a constraint typically, or?
Ideally, you don't want...
You need more space. You need a little open space.
Yeah, a little bit you need. An empty room at least, where enough they can spread out and do something.
And you've been able to do this in government schools as well?
Yes, we had done a small project about 5-6 years ago.
Okay.
And that's where when Roshni was talking about the tree and the seed, we had done something similar there, and everything was done by the kids. That was again 4th grade kids doing. stuff. So yeah, it has worked. But again, our experience with teachers has not been that great. While they are open to looking at it, they like the idea, a majority of the teachers feel that it's a burden. And that is because they have to do a lot more planning, and one agreed that they don't have the theatre perspective, which they will need to pick up. But even if they've picked it up, like when we were doing the Earthian project with 2 schools, while working with one of the schools, we worked with a lot of teachers, and one of the teachers was a physics teacher, and we worked with her, and she kind of got a sense of how it can be done, how the session can be done. And I don't remember the topic now, but we had a discussion before the topic, as in how much time would you need to teach this particular topic in a class. And she had said like something like 5 hours or something like that. And we tried doing the same thing, and we managed to do it in about 2.5 hours. So I thought, I was like elated. She's going to really start implementing this, and she's going to be happy about it. But at the end of it, when I started having a conversation with her, she said, we don't have the time. And I tried to understand what it was. She didn't say it, but what my sense of what came out was, I've been teaching for 15 years. I have a set plan. I can just go out and do it. I don't need to spend more time planning. And I think that's what came out for me from that discussion. So I think, yeah, that is a challenge. Also, we found that the younger teachers were more open to trying out stuff than the more seniors.
It's also change of attitude, no? Yeah. You've been doing something in a way for so long that it's difficult. Just a new way of doing something. It may be easier also, but just to switch that is sometimes hard.
Yeah. Also, of course, there is a challenge where we say we have 40-minute periods, and that causes a problem. We would ideally like to have a 1 hour or 1.5 hour period to allow you to do that much more. But so the only alternative we see is, okay, if that can't be done, you don't do the entire thing with using theatre methodology, but bring in 1 or 2 elements in, which makes the classroom so much more interesting and learning so much better.
Nayantara is also saying this kind of activity also brings in a sense of responsibility, something that children in the Indian education system are not very used to interacting with. Learning is generally passive, uses more of following than being responsible and leading. It becomes, we have to do this, as opposed to this should be done. Absolutely. Yeah. And that's exactly what this is meant to do. So, I mean, once you get involved, when you take ownership, when there's onus, then you're excited. I mean, it's the same thing. Same thing when you're just being told, or, it's the onus on you. It just changes it.
Falguni also has put down a comment. What came through for me, especially through the leaf and butterfly eggs activity, was that kids are such keen observers. Add to that a completely different lens through which they can see the world, and it's amazing. Yeah. Thanks, Falguni. Sorry, Minti, I cut you.
No, that's it.
Okay, I don't think I need to do that slide anymore.
That slide, because everything's been covered. So those are all basically the elements of theatre and education. That's the purpose of theatre and education, to do all of this, what you've said.
But I will move on to the next slide, because just to give you guys a more... Yeah, okay. Anyway, if you want to you can have a look at it. So.
And is it okay if we request you for these slides for those who didn't join us today?
Yeah, sure. Yeah. Okay. And then this is what the totality of theatre and education is. We've just touched upon one part of it. There's a lot more that can happen. So you can have performances by students, for students, with students. So these would be scripts, right? Scripts related to various topics, and the way they can be done, they can be made interactive with pauses in between the performance, where you bring in people, bring in students, get them to be a part of the script. Or it could be a script a performance that ends with some questions and work that is given to the students. There can be various models for that.
We have examples of plays
Yeah.
like that, which are like short plays, just a 15-minute play. So you can start at the class, start of the class. And in between as well, you stop and you ask them a few questions, you engage them. And this is on global warming. We have a play on global warming like that. And it also ends with 3 questions that they explore together and then they share with the class.
And there are also we have a set of folk tales that we've scripted, and they are mostly nature connected. And what we do is some of the stories lend to, getting someone from the audience to come and play a particular part, and then see how that person comes and takes the role of, let's say, the mukhya of the village, and then he has to come up with solutions because people have come to him with a problem. And we could, depending on the time availability, you can do it with one person, you can get 2-3 people to come and give responses, which would again give them access to see things from different perspectives. And the non-performance methods, there are a lot of them. It could be reading stories, it could be short role plays, it could be body images like you've seen, there could be various other exercises. I mean, there's a long list of exercises that works for us. And in addition to that, we also use behavior change methods and simulations and things like that. Yeah. So I'll keep this. So, yeah. Any questions?
I wanted to ask something about work with teachers. The teachers you mentioned were like, did you work with them one-on-one or even in a group for a period of time? So what I'm asking is, when you did work with them, were the teachers the audience of your, or the recipients of your work, or was it, let's learn this or let's do this so that you can take it to your classroom or to the children you work with? Because I'm just wondering if that also makes a difference in how much teachers hold and kind of use in their classes.
Yeah. So the teachers I was speaking about, that is, it was more of a top-down approach, so where they were instructed that they have to be a part of it.
Okay.
So some of them were interested, so they were more accepting, while the others were there because they were asked to be there. So
yeah, and at the same time, we had a whole bunch of teachers from Agastya Foundation. They are basically teaching science and maths, and they came for a workshop. We did like a 3-day workshop with them, where we gave them a whole this intro on TIE and then some tools and exercises. The next day we said, can you use your lesson plans and you use these into your lesson plans? They actually came up with amazing stuff, and they were very receptive. And that was just supposed to be an introductory workshop, which we said later on we'll do a longer training, then you can use. They have already gone and used it to teach, to train other teachers, to use it in their classrooms. So at the same time, there are people who I think that was an important question, because that was a top down and they were forced into that situation. It had ended up, although even this workshop, I don't know how many in the beginning knew what it's about and why we're coming here. But because we had enough time with them and we could focus on that, and they got to experience it also, that was important as well.
And I think they had seen that there is a need to look at things differently from the way they are doing.
Yeah.
So they came with that mindset. So it worked so much better. Whereas for the other ones, it was, and even the training time that we took was meant that some of the work that they could finish in that time has to go back home with them. So that was also something that was troubling them. Whereas here it was 3 days, this was their work. So yeah, it does make a difference.
Yeah, I mean, not to take away from the fact that teachers anyway do have like immense work.
Completely agree with that.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, Nayantara.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask if you, apart from actually interacting directly with teachers, if you also sort of try to reach out to teachers or educators through resources like video resources or textual or something like that, because since we're working on something like that, if you have done something along those lines, we'd like to know what are your thoughts on that. Also, if how well that works, and if we are working on something like that, how do we make sure that it reaches a lot of people and also is relatable and accessible to educators?
Perfect. You've spoken of what we are looking at doing. So we are in the process of creating a center of excellence, what we call a center of excellence. It is mainly going to be a repository of content, and we are theater experts. We are not really subject matter experts, right? So we are looking at how to collaborate with others, especially the subject matter experts, and create content which will be up on this repository available for access. So we're just in the process of designing it, and we're taking baby steps right now. But yes, this is a group that we would definitely want to tap into and collaborate with, so that we can have more content and also accessible to others.
Yeah, but the question of how this will be taken, who this will go to, how many will want it, is still remains for us. Honestly, we don't know about that. We feel it's surely of use and it's good and it needs to be there, because arts integration is spoken about, it's in the NEP, but teachers don't know how to do it. So clearly, if there are clear manuals, there are lesson plans, and that's what's needed. But that bridge of who will be ready to accept it and want to do it is another story, which we'll again all need to figure out.
I want to know the age group of children that these activities have been done by.
So we worked with all ranges from 2nd grade up to the 10th grade. But yeah, the RAIN project that we talked about was done by children from 6th, 7th and 8th grade. The My New World, the COVID one which we spoke about, that had a range of 8 to 18, right, Minti?
I think the youngest was 6 or 7.
Yeah, okay, so something of that.
But most of them were in the range of 10.
Yeah, so but we worked with the range from 2nd grade to 10th grade.
Right now, Sachi and I are going to Sandipani school. We're starting from 1st grade. Of course, we're not doing projects necessarily like this. I mean, long projects with the youngest ones. But it's an ongoing class. So every week we go and we do some theatre exercise. But we do even things like, so we realized for youngest ones, you might do a similar thing in a slightly different way. So we're trying to figure out now at different age groups how you would do certain things. You have to tweak it a little bit. And so, okay.
So all the different age group students show the same level of interest, or do they show different level of interest?
I think
in doing those activities,
every child is different.
You'll find a range of interests in the same classroom and across. So it's not.
And on a particular day, and with a particular set of people there with, and in a different kind of a school setting. It just changes all the time. They'll surprise you. Every other day they surprise you.
But what you will know,
something you should tell us.
So what you will notice is if they see others enjoying it, sooner or later they come into the system. So, but you have to bid your time. You can't force them and try to hurry them into the whole system.
Yeah, it's an important point you brought up, Murtuza. I think also even when we take children or adults for nature walks, you see that, right? You can't force people to look at something and go wow at the first instance. But when they see 3-4 people looking at it and being amazed by it, sometimes people get curious and then they come and then they get excited.
Yeah.
They see that excitement.
Yeah, right.
And what we noticed, especially through this RAIN workshop, was because there were elements where we had to talk, we had to enact, we had to do these body images, we had to even just write on chits, right? So different kinds of students who don't like talking so much, they had that avenue to sit and write. They were quite okay with that. So there were many places where a certain child could express in some way or the other. So that was also quite nice, that everyone's not comfortable with jumping in and
yes.
that.
Yeah. And to be sensitive, I hope we get a chance to all meet in person sometime, and that you actually do an in-person workshop for us. I'm just going to wind down this discussion because it's a little past 4. So let's see. Hopefully we can try and facilitate that for people who are interested. But Murtuza, Minti, thank you so much for leading and facilitating today's session for us. We're looking forward to collaborating with you.